Well, I just got back from sailing on the newest cruise ship in the world, and boy, do I have some things to tell you. I'm talking about the Celebrity Ascent, and I just got back from her 4-night Taste of Luxury sailing, the very first cruise ever. And in this video, I'm going to give you my honest review of the brand new ship from Celebrity Cruises, the Celebrity Ascent. Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man, and I was so excited to be one of the very first people to get to sail on the brand new ship from Celebrity Cruises. Celebrity Cruises is known as a premium cruise line, and they certainly have some of the most beautiful ships at sea with their Celebrity Edge series of ships. The Celebrity Ascent has been heavily anticipated now for a couple of years, ever since she was announced to be the newest sister after the Celebrity Beyond. The Celebrity Beyond was a huge success for Celebrity Cruises, and for the most part, the Celebrity Ascent is pretty much a carbon copy of the Celebrity Beyond. Now, the first two Celebrity Edge series ships, the Celebrity Edge and the Celebrity Apex, differed from Celebrity Beyond. When Celebrity Beyond came out, she was longer, she featured new venues that had never been seen before, and so with Celebrity Ascent, you basically have those same venues, just on a brand new ship, with different art, of course. I think that was the one area where folks were running around the ship looking for something different and just finding a lot of different art, which is always exciting because that's one thing that Celebrity does amazing at, is featuring art all over their beautiful ships, ships that are basically art themselves. Now, Celebrity sold 2 preview cruises, the 4-night I was on and then a 3-night after mine. And on those cruises, they didn't sell any interior ocean view cabins. They only sold balconies and higher up into the suites. So it wasn't actually a full cruise. We only had, I think, about 2,300 people on board this cruise. And it was a lot of children. I'd never seen so many kids on board a Celebrity ship before, a lot of families. And I think that was because it was the Thanksgiving holiday I sailed over. So I think a lot of folks booked this 4-night cruise down to Mexico as a way to get away as a family and escape. So I'm going to walk through some things about the ship. I'm going to actually do one of my steps review, go through my steps process. And that is an acronym. That's just how I review cruise ships here on my channel. And there are 5 steps, of course, where the first S stands for ship. We'll talk all about the Celebrity Ascent, and that's probably the thing that you care the most about. Then we'll talk about taste, and I'm actually going to put all of the food that I had on board the ship inside of this video and tell you what the food was like. E is for entertainment, and I'll tell you about all the exceptional entertainment options on board the Celebrity Ascent. The P is for ports, and then the S, the second S, is for service, and I'll tell you how the crew did on this very first sailing of Ascent. But we'll kick everything off with the S for ship. A beautiful ship, the Celebrity Ascent. If you've been on any of her sisters, you already know what I'm talking about. And as I said at the top, these are the most beautiful cruise ships in the world. The Celebrity Edge series of ships, there's just nothing else like it. It's like you're cruising on the most luxurious resort you've ever been on, and you're in the middle of the ocean. It's just unbelievable how modern, I call it the modern elegance that they have on these ships, because everywhere you look, every detail on the ship is just done so exceptionally. I've been fortunate enough to be able to sail on all 4 of these Celebrity Edge series ships, and I can confidently say now that Celebrity Ascent is my favorite cruise ship. She is the best ship at sea. Just a beautiful ship from top to bottom, from front to back, from side to side. Everywhere you go, there's beautiful art around the ship. All the furniture that they have, even in the public areas, is so nice. You go into the staterooms and they're just so well appointed, the way that they're laid out. I even had one of the solo infinite veranda staterooms on this ship. The first time I've ever actually stayed in one of those. And I was shocked throughout the week at how much space I had and how much like a normal stateroom it felt like. The rooms are so well insulated on that ship. I was right beside the aft elevator bank on deck 6. In fact, when you walked outside of my room, when you opened my door, you could see all the way across the ship, straight through the stairwell hallway. That's how close I was, and I never heard any noise at all. Once I closed that door in my stateroom, nothing. It was amazing how quiet it was. Very beautiful staterooms on board the ship. I don't care if you're staying in an interior, in the infinite veranda, and I know a lot of folks don't like the infinite verandas, but luckily this trip I had no issues with mine. It worked just fine. However, one area I did have an issue with was the air conditioning inside my room. I'd set it to 66, that's the lowest setting, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and unfortunately it just couldn't get there most of the time. It never got to 66. One day it was at about 69 degrees, and I think that's the lowest that I saw at all cruise. And I thought it might be because of the infinite veranda. That's a complaint that many people have with that infinite veranda. Why a lot of folks refuse to sail on the Edge series ships because they don't like the infinite veranda. They want a traditional veranda, and there's very few of those on the Edge series ships, but I digress. It did get very warm when I had the Infinite Veranda open. I learned to keep the shade closed during the day and to close the partitions there and to close the Infinite Veranda off. And that did help some. Now, while I thought this might have just been an Infinite Veranda issue, I actually run into some of my viewers one day, and I was talking to them, and they were like, yeah, everything's great except the air conditioning. And then they knew some people on the ship that were having some issues with air conditioning in their room. So I think there might have been some AC issues. And I typically don't do my reviews of reporting what other people said. But I did read on a Facebook group that some other folks were experiencing some AC issues as well. Nothing else that I saw was really wrong with the entire ship. And I looked high and low. I mean, I tried to find things that I could talk about that might not be that great, or issues that we had with the ship, or things that weren't quite ready. But y'all, it was almost perfect. If you're on the fence about booking the Celebrity Ascent, absolutely book it. I don't think you could find a better cruise ship out there on the sea today. Now, I did want to mention a couple things that I always mention when I'm talking about the ship, and it sort of goes in under the ship's infrastructure. One of these is the Wi-Fi, and I did have the premium Wi-Fi package on this cruise. And while the premium Wi-Fi is quite expensive, it was absolutely worth it this cruise because it was blazing fast with no issues. I was actually very surprised how reliable the internet was on this trip because it's just normally not that way. Normally the internet might be good for a day or two and then drop out, but it was good the whole cruise. And in fact, I uploaded a couple of YouTube videos, one of them being an hour-long ship tour video from the Celebrity Ascent. And if you've not seen that video already, I encourage you to go watch that and see all around the ship and see for yourself how beautiful it is. But I uploaded that video in just a few hours, so the internet was fantastic. So I'm going to give the Celebrity Ascent a very solid 4.7 out of a 5. And I would have given it a 5 out of 5 had it not been for the AC issue. Next up is Tea for Taste. So I'm going to talk about the food. And one of the best parts of any Celebrity cruise is the food. I still stand by my statement that I pretty much said from day one, from the very first Celebrity cruise that I took, Celebrity has the best food at sea, and I tried out as much of it as I could on board Celebrity Ascent. The very first night of the cruise, I went to Eden. Eden is specialty dining on the ship. It's actually my favorite restaurant to eat on any cruise ship, so I was very excited to get back in there. And I was kind of curious before the cruise if there might be a new menu inside of Eden, as I had been surveyed before on one of my last Celebrity cruises. They had asked me about the food. They actually gave me a paper survey, and I filled it out there at the table. So I was expecting on Ascent that we would see a new menu. However, it is the same menu that was on Celebrity Beyond, and that's okay. It's still a great menu, but I just wanted to let you know if maybe you were like me anticipating a new menu. It's not happened yet. For my appetizer, I did try two things because they had two things that looked really appealing to me. One of them being the crab cake that they have in there. It was delicious. I mean, so good. So much flavor. You know, you get crab cakes a lot of time on a cruise ship and it tastes the freezer burn and you're like, yep, they got that right out of the freezer. But this tasted so fresh. And that's one thing I love about Eden is it's like everything is unique and everything's fresh. They have that open kitchen concept. You can actually see the kitchen as you're eating. Just all the food being prepared right over there. That's really neat. For my second appetizer, I got the shrimp, and that was fantastic as well. So flavorful and delicious, and I would absolutely order both of those again, and I'm sure I will the next time I go on an Ed Sheeran ship. Now for my main, I got a trusty favorite. Well, actually two trusty favorites, because I actually ordered the lobster casserole. And y'all, if you like lobster at all, you got to go to Eden and get that lobster casserole. I've said that many times on videos before, but I'm going to repeat it again because I want you all to try it. It's got corn in it. It's got lobster, of course. It's got potatoes. It's in this cream sauce. It is delicious. I ordered that, and then the server was like, are you sure that's all you want? You don't want the beef Wellington and filet? I was like, well, yeah, bring that to me too. So she brought me the beef Wellington that comes with filet mignon. It's just a huge plate of food, and that filet was like melt in your mouth. Fantastic. Both of those entrees. So if you're going to go to Eden, try them both. It's like surf and turf in the best way possible. Now for dessert, I got the Strawberry Delight, and wasn't as big of a fan of that as I was the other food that I had at Eden, but it was still a fantastic dining experience. And y'all, it was the first night of Eden and no hiccups. Fantastic service, fantastic food. You got to check it out if you're sailing on Celebrity Ascent. Now speaking of Eden, the next morning I got up, and where did I head? Because it was a sea day, but to the Eden Cafe, because I always tell y'all, you got to check out the Eden Cafe. It's right there. Right when you're walking into Eden, you look to the left and you'll see it. You got to go in there. They got breakfast and then they'll have lunch also. And most things in there are free. I did notice that particularly for the lunch options, they are adding some more paid options, or kind of upgraded options. But most of the stuff in there is free. And on this morning, I went there and got a steak and egg bagel and also some muesli, and those are very good. And I always love eating at Eden Cafe because you can go outside and sit right by the water, right there on the back of the ship, and just have a tremendous dining experience. Now, this particular day of the cruise was Thanksgiving Day. I was very curious what Thanksgiving was going to look like on a cruise ship, what kind of food they were going to serve. Well, turkey, of course. I did go up on the buffet at lunchtime. They did have a lot of turkey and dressing and sides like you would have at Thanksgiving dinner. However, I was saving up because I knew I was going to be eating a lot of food in the dining room that night. And for dinner that night, I did go to one of the main dining rooms. Now, there are 4 main dining rooms, 4 beautiful main dining rooms. On Thanksgiving night, I chose to go to Cosmopolitan Restaurant, and it was really nice how they had just an entire Thanksgiving Day menu. The appetizers were all Thanksgiving or fall themed, and so were the entrees and the desserts. For my appetizer, I started with the pumpkin gnocchi, and that was delicious. It was gnocchi served in a cream sauce with chunks of pumpkin in it. That was delicious. And then I got the chop salad also, and this was some carrots and celery. And then for my main, I had to get the oven roasted turkey, of course, because it was Thanksgiving, and that came with the traditional sides of sweet potatoes. It came with stuffing and green beans. It had gravy over it. And y'all, that was fantastic. Like, I got up from there feeling like I'd just been to my grandma's house for Thanksgiving. Like, it was that good. It was that comfort level food of Thanksgiving good. For dessert, I had the pecan pie, and that was fantastic. The next day, I went to breakfast at the Captain's Club breakfast. The Captain's Club breakfast is for those members that are elite and higher in the Captain's Club. And I went in there to get the trusty favorite, which is the salmon bagel, and that was delicious. That's the best bagel I've ever had on a cruise ship before. And then for dinner that night, I was back in the main dining room, and this time I chose to go to Normandy Restaurant. And this night, it was lobster night. Yes, even on a 4-day cruise, they still had a lobster night. And they had beef Wellington on the menu along with the lobster tail, so I had to get both. I asked for the beef Wellington with just the side, just the lobster tail. I didn't want the sides that came with it. And they were happy to oblige and get me that. And it was all very good. And then for dessert that night, I had the baked Alaska. They always have the baked Alaska when they're having lobster on the menu. And per usual, it was really good. I always enjoy the baked Alaska on Celebrity. So now we're up to the last day of the cruise. And that morning, I woke up and realized I haven't been to the buffet yet. I need to go to the buffet to get breakfast, so I did. It was still very early in the morning, so there were very few people in the buffet. They had really good options, though. There were options aplenty all around the buffet. So I got my usual of some French toast and a hash brown and a piece of sausage and some eggs, and it was all really good. I actually wasn't planning on eating lunch that day, but I got on my phone and looked at the Facebook group for this cruise, and somebody was like, get to the buffet right now. And I'm like, why? So I was like, I have to go see what's going on though, because I might want to get this content for my channel. So I ran up to the buffet to see what was going on, and I saw something I've never seen on a buffet before. Y'all, they had premium seafood on the buffet in the Ocean View Cafe. Premium seafood. And by that, I mean they had lobster tails. They had so much seafood, so much premium seafood. I was shocked. I went up to get a lobster tail because there was a line, of course, and they did have someone distributing those to the folks in line. But the lady said, how many do you want? And I was like, oh, one is good. She was like, just one? I'm like, well, give me 3 then. And then they had drawn butter that you could put over the top of them. That lobster was so good. All that seafood was good. And I think that might have just been something special they were doing for the first cruise. Probably for the first couple or few cruises they'll do that. And then for my very last dinner on board the ship, I did another specialty dining, and I went to one of my favorites. Well, another one of my favorites. The Rooftop Garden Grill. And the Rooftop Garden Grill is on the very top deck of the ship in the back, deck 15, right by the rooftop garden. And they feature grilled offerings, hamburgers, steaks, and it is just a really good place to eat. And I really enjoyed the meal that I had there that night. I started with my favorites, which are the dry rub chicken wings. Those are always good. I also went with the classic Caesar salad, of course. And then for the main, I did something a little different. I normally do a steak or something like that because I'm like, oh, it's, specialty dining. You got to eat the most expensive thing on the menu, right? But I got the WTF burger, and that was probably one of the best burgers I've ever had on a cruise ship before. And then for dessert, I had the s'mores in a jar dessert. That was so good. It was very rich, but such a good dessert. And I really enjoyed my meal at Rooftop Garden Grill. So for the tea, for taste, for food, I'm going to give a solid 4.7 out of a 5 rating. Next up is E for entertainment, and no one does entertainment on a ship like Celebrity, especially on these new ships, because there is entertainment all around the ship all day long. I mean, you're talking about, they have trivia all throughout the day. They also had all sorts of games. They had games set up in the club. They did have entertainment each night in the theater. They had a few guest entertainers. One night they had a comedian, and then they had her back a couple nights later to do like a late night comedy show. They also had a rock cover band that was fantastic. Everyone loved their performance. And then we got to check out one of the stage production shows. And this was the world premiere for this because the show was made for the Celebrity Ascent, and this was its first sailing. And I think probably what they were doing is splitting up the stage production shows for these Taste of Luxury cruises. I think they did one for us, and they're probably doing one on the 3-night cruise that's going on right now as I film this video. But for ours, we got Awaken. And Awaken was an incredible show. They had really good music in it, really good singers and dancers, and the reviews for it were tremendous. I was hearing folks as I was leaving the theater say, oh, that was so amazing. I was seeing folks on the Facebook group talking about how much they enjoyed it. So you got to go see Awaken if you're going to be on Celebrity Ascent, because it is really good. And then they always have live entertainment all across the ship, musicians playing. Of course, you got the main atrium, or the Grand Plaza as they call it. They always have at least a pianist there. They have vocalists in there all throughout the night. They also had someone playing live music on the pool deck, which was nice to see. And in Eden, they have live entertainment, musicians throughout the night. And then 2 nights of this cruise, they actually had full 45-minute production shows in Eden, and those things got crowded. I mean, a lot of folks were going to the shows in Eden, and they were really good shows. They do really cool tricks back there in such a cramped little space. Another place where they would do full production shows was the club, and unfortunately, I didn't make it to any of those shows this cruise, just because these were typically at like 10:45 at night, and there was either something else going on or I was back in my cabin asleep. But from what I've seen and what I heard from folks, these shows are really good as well. So you're not going to be bored at all. And that's why I'm giving entertainment on board Celebrity Ascent a perfect 5 out of a 5 rating. P for ports, and I'm going to be honest here, this review is mainly for the ship and everything on board it, so the port doesn't really matter that much. It doesn't contribute that much. I'm just doing this steps review to keep things consistent to how I normally do things. So I'm just throwing the port in here. We went to Cozumel. It's Cozumel. I only got off the ship long enough to take like exterior shots of the ship because that's the only port we were going to be in where I could actually get it all in one picture. And then I immediately got back on the ship. There were like 7 or 8 cruise ships in port that day. So for ports, I'm going to give a 3 out of a 5 rating. And finally, we come to the second S in our steps review, and this is for service. And the service all around the ship was good. Actually, it was really good. It was surprisingly good. It was luxury on board the ship because the crew was so good. And I understand they take the well-performing crew from other ships and place them on the new ship. But they had it together, y'all. For a brand new ship, you would have thought there would have been issues somewhere. But it was really good service. The only place where there might have been any issue with service was the dining room. The dining room could be extremely slow with service at times. So I did have to take away a little bit of the points for that. But otherwise, the service all around the ship was fantastic, especially considering there were 2,300 guests on board. It was a major North American holiday while we were there. Everyone was just so nice. Everyone was so friendly. Everyone was so excited. You could just tell the crew was excited to be on a new ship. They were excited that we were there. So I'm going to give service a very solid 4.8 out of a 5 rating. You're going to be treated like royalty if you go on the Celebrity Ascent. So when you factor all those scores together, the grand total for the Celebrity Ascent comes out to be a 4.44. And I say the 0.44, that's very important, because this is the best score I've given a cruise ship since I started doing my steps review process all the way back in May of 2022 when I first sailed on one of the first cruises of Celebrity Beyond. So Celebrity Ascent is the best cruise ship I've reviewed in the past year and a half, almost 2 years. And that just tells you what a fantastic ship this is, with a fantastic crew. The best cruise ship at sea. Sorry, Celebrity Apex, I still love you, but Ascent is where it's at. The newest ship, the best ship in the fleet, a wonderful flagship for Celebrity Cruises. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you go down below, give me a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel because I have a lot more cruise content to come, including more content to come from onboard Celebrity Ascent very soon. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.